Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. Happy day one of the NFL draft, peeps. Appreciate you making this a part of your starts. If you're already up and at it this morning, if it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Available to stream up online at our website, sportstalk1051.com or wayyyradio.com. Both of those work. You've got your smart devices like your Alexa devices, the app. Download it, take it on the go. Video stream also up and rolling here this morning. Multiple ways for you to be joining in. What do we have on our game plan for us this morning? Well, it is the NFL draft, day one, round one coming your way tonight. And, well, we know Green Bay is not going to be on the clock, but, hey, it's still something to pay attention to if you're a Packers fan. Maybe there's going to be certain positions that kind of slide on down, and maybe Green Bay gets lucky and is able to get one of those players in the second round, or maybe they move on up if some players are sliding on down. So we'll talk about the NFL draft, the latest and greatest that is our latest and greatest rumors that are kind of rumbling right now surrounding the NFL draft. So if you want to make any predictions, whether it's like a big trade, I know Jake Glazer, yesterday, the other day, said there's something juicy that he can't say, but apparently it's going to drop sometime today, whatever the heck that is. So, but if you have any, we've seen, throughout the years, some maybe bigger news or bigger trades dropping on draft day and such. So if you want to make a bold prediction with that, hey, feel free. Hit us up. All right. Text us 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or you can join in on the Section 105 chat on YouTube. So plenty of football talk coming your way here this morning. We've got some Brewers. We do have a Brewers game before the draft tonight, though, and it'll be for a series win potentially because the Brewers did fall last night to the Tigers 5-2. Brewers had a shot there in the ninth, base low terrain and such, but not able to get it done. Brewers jumped out to an early 1-0 lead in the top of the third, but the Tigers were able to put up a couple runs in the fourth and the fifth to get that win. DL Hall got the opener, but Chad Patrick coming in after that, going 4 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs to get his first loss of the season. So Brewers only using 3 pitchers in yesterday's game, with Rodriguez pitching the last 2, giving up 3 hits and 1 earned run. So, but it's going to be a little tough here for the Crew today because they got to go up against Tariq Skubal. So Brandon Sproat's getting a start for the Brewers. But we'll preview this game and take a look at how, if any, Brewers players have had some success going up against Tariq Skubal throughout their career. So plenty of Brewers chat, plenty of baseball chat coming your way. If you're kind of wondering where the standings are for the National League Central after last night's loss, Brewers, back in last place. But the Reds are in first. Now the Cubs are just a half game back. Can you please lose to the Phillies, for crying out loud? Man, Cubs. Pittsburgh third. St. Louis tied with them too. And then they got the Brewers there at 13-10. So, but again, plenty of baseball talk coming your way here this morning. Also on the docket, since it is a Thursday, it is a Takeover Thursday. So this is where we kind of put the program in your hands. What's a topic? What's something that you want to discuss or throw out for consideration to discuss? This is where you can act like the producer and such. So hit us up with your nominations, with your thoughts, what you think is a good topic, or maybe you got a question that you want to throw out there for the rest of us, for the rest of the listeners and that. So we're an open book, all right? Send it on over. We want to hear from you. It is also a Tailgate Outdoors Thursday. So we'll talk with Mr. Jake Bolks answering your questions. I know we've got the fishing opener coming up next week in the middle of turkey season here. So if you got any questions, shoot those on over. Best way, again, is to hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Also, it is a Enough is Enough Thursday. So what's the sports take, sports story, narrative, whatever you want to call it, that you would say, man, enough is enough. Enough is enough with this. Maybe you're not an NFL draft fan. And you're like, enough is enough with the NFL draft. Let's get this thing over with. Maybe you're just like, I'm not a fan of the NBA, so enough is enough on that too. But whatever the case may be, hit us up. All right, get it off your chest. Speaking of the NBA, the playoffs last night, you had Detroit picking up a win over Orlando to tie up that series. OKC taking down Phoenix to take a 2-0 lead in their series. We've got 3 games on the docket tonight, including the Timberwolves hosting the Denver Nuggets. That game's coming your way tonight, 7:30. Before that is Cleveland at Toronto, New York at Atlanta. Stanley Cup playoffs, if you are a Wild fan, last night in double overtime. The Stars taking down the Wild to take a 2-1 lead in their series. So also last night, you had Philadelphia taking a commanding 3-0 series lead after they defeated Pittsburgh. And we had the Ducks taking down Edmonton 6-4 to tie that series up at 1 apiece. We also have 3 games coming your way tonight for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Buffalo at Boston with that series tied at 1 apiece. Carolina at Ottawa. Carolina leading that series at 2-0. And then Colorado at the Kings of Los Angeles. Colorado leading that series 2-0. So let's get things going. That's your game plan for us this morning. All right, let's open it up. I'll throw this out there for maybe just to kind of get your brains working early this morning on a Thursday morning. I know the weekend is nearly upon us, and you're just maybe trying to get through the week here. Maybe you're just waking up, groggly eyes, and all that. So little question to kind of get your brains thinking here. Who do you think? Who do you think is, maybe we'll do a couple versions of this, maybe the best Packers draft pick of all time? So think about that. And again, remember, it's not Brett Favre. It's not Reggie White, because they weren't draft picks of the Packers. It's not Charles Woodson. They were not draft picks of the Packers. So you could go about this maybe a couple different routes. Maybe you go with the first round pick. Maybe you go with a different a value pick like a Donald Driver in the 7th round or something like that. Who do you think is the best? And I'll leave it up to you for your definition. But who do you think is the best draft pick in Packers history? And then who do you think is maybe the most underrated? I won't say overrated, and I don't want to say worst draft pick, because I think that's probably going to be easy for a lot of Packers fans. They may throw out Tony Mandrich and such. So I want to get you thinking, who do you think is maybe the most underrated? Like, you know what? That was a solid pick that nobody has ever talked about. Like, maybe it was a mid-round pick. Maybe it was a second-round pick. Maybe it was even a first-round pick. I don't know. But what do you think, or who do you think has been maybe a solid player? Maybe they're still playing with the Packers, but was a solid player for the Packers, was drafted by the Packers, and just doesn't, it was a good value pick, or it was a solid draft pick that not a lot of people talk about. So you got a couple of those. All right, hit me up or hit us up with some messages on that. We've got intern Carter joining us as well here in just a bit. So let's get things rocking and a-rolling. We'll open it up, talk a little football. We'll talk a little baseball. Got lots to get to here, so let's jump right to it. We'll take our first break, and then coming up, we've got the leadoff. So join us. Hit us up. We already got some messages coming in, so we'll get to those as well. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Hey, if you're looking for somewhere to maybe post up and watch the draft, with the draft, VFW Post 305. See what I did there? A couple of post and draft. Yeah. But no, tonight, if you're looking for somewhere to maybe grab some great food, a cold beverage and such while watching the draft, you can head on over to the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue, which is a popular pick so far for best Packers draft pick, I will just say, Bart Starr. But also, I want to put this on your calendars here. Coming up on Saturday, May 2nd, at the VFW Post 305, the American Legion Baseball Meat Raffle. So who doesn't love a good meat raffle in Wisconsin? Coming up Saturday, May 2nd at 3 p.m., help raise some funds to support American Legion Baseball. So that is coming up next Saturday, May 2nd. But tonight, if you want to go somewhere while watching the drafts, with a cold draft, go over to our good friends at the VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. We've got, let's say good morning to intern Carter. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Tried to stay up for the whole Wild game last night. This is why we got to get you as a coffee drinker. One, because then I can buy you a coffee so you could pick me up a coffee too there. So, but double overtime, man. So it's, those games are worth it when it's your team winning. Maybe not so when it's,
Yeah, I only stayed up for about half of the first overtime, and then
I don't blame you, dude.
So.
I don't blame you. So, but double overtime, what a great game. And I know probably Wild fans are a little down, being down 2-1 in this series, especially against the Stars. So, little rivalry there. But hey, got more games to go, right?
Yeah,
got more to go. So, we'll talk some hockey and Stanley Cup playoffs coming up here in just a little bit. But so I threw out that question. Well, first of all, I'll get to Z-Bombs here in a second. But Mark says best Packer pick, Bart Starr in the 17th round, if I recall. And we got Steve from Eau Claire. Most underrated, John Brockington, old school, set records in his first 3 years. So we are just got to get in your mind going here this morning. Who would you say is the best Packers draft pick of all time, and maybe the most underrated Packers draft pick of all time? You can make your picks. Again, hit us up with quick message. C-Bomb had a question a little bit earlier with John Schneider on record stating he wants to move his first-round pick to get more picks. What do you think would be a package you'd be willing to give up to grab somebody and have that fifth-year option? Are you referring to if you were Goody and the Packers, or just somebody in general at this point? The thing is, I don't know. I've seen people make the arguments about fifth-year options. Are they a little overrated? Are they a little underrated? Or maybe not underrated, but a little bit overrated. I could see the cases for both. I think fifth-year options are pivotal for maybe like quarterbacks and such, but I wonder now, and I know Green Bay picked up a fifth-year option with Devontae Wyatt. I get the cases for both sides here for sure, but I don't know if it's worthy of this for the Packers in this case to move up for the first round to get somebody at 32.
Yeah, I think if they move up, it'll be less about the fifth-year option and more about just the player.
Yeah.
Where, like, a corner drops to them or an offensive lineman drops where, like, you thought no way they were going to be there at 32, and then all of a sudden they're there.
I think the interesting thing here is, a lot of people assume a team like the Cardinals are going to move up for that, back-end first round to get Simpson, the quarterback, which fifth-year option, I can see it makes sense for somebody like a quarterback in that. But it's also a division team, with Seattle and such. So would Seattle be willing to do that? And we've seen division teams trade before, in the draft. But that would be kind of an interesting one here too. So, but it's the thing too with the fifth-year options that we have to remember is that fifth-year option. It's a guaranteed salary for that whole year. So it is a high cap hit too. And that's another thing to kind of factor in for maybe teams who are adjusting salary caps. And I know it'd be a little bit down the road and such, but yeah, it on one hand, it could be a positive thing to control the player, so you have that stability. On the other hand, it's something that, like Green Bay is right now trying to decide about Lucas Van Ness. Is that money worth it? Obviously they did not do it for Quay Walker and he is no longer with the team, but they did do it with a guy like Devontae Wyatt and such. It allows a team maybe some extra time to potentially negotiate a contract and such to lower that cap hit. But yeah, you can make cases for both sides. I think a lot of it, depends almost on the position, and I think for the team too. Like, it made sense when Baltimore traded back into the first round to get Lamar Jackson, for 32 and that sort of stuff. So I think, a lot's going to depend on who's still there from a player standpoint.
Yeah,
so.
Again, if there's a corner that drops, I think you could see him attempt to. But he likes the amount of picks we have with 8 this year, so I don't really see a move happening.
I can't see him, and I know he kind of mentioned in his presser saying, they've got ammo for next year's picks to maybe move up, but I can't see him, if he does move up, where he's going to deplete a lot of his picks. I honestly feel like if he can move back even, he'd probably do that.
Probably.
Let's say he trades his third rounder, moves back a few slots, and picks up another fifth rounder or something. I feel like he'd do that in a heartbeat.
Well, and look at this draft. It's supposed to be so much weaker than next year.
Right.
And we don't even have a first next year.
Right.
So to be able to save those assets and maybe move up next year, I think would be the better play than move up this year.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a little bit of a quiet night. I'm not expecting them to move up or anything like that, but it's still something to kind of follow and watch, because if there is that run or if there is that push, let's say there isn't a lot of corners that are drafted tonight. And obviously that is a big need for Green Bay, and they all get pushed to the second round. Then I think that potentially could get a little interesting, because, and this is where I know I'm in the minority for some people. I get it, but a lot of people still like the draft just being on Saturday and Sunday. But this is where I like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. One, I get to talk about it on Thursday and Friday. 2 is, after tonight, these teams get to regroup, because if there is that push, you get a lot of trades. Like the last few years, we've seen a lot of trades at the beginning of the second round, because teams want to move up and try to grab some of those guys that fell out of that first round that teams thought were going to be first round picks. So we see a lot of movement. Now, if there is hardly any corners that are drafted tonight and all those guys get pushed to the second, then I could see maybe Green Bay contemplating a potential move up. For that.
I mean, we've seen it before. Like, we trade up to get Watson at pick 33, so he's not scared to move up. But, again, 8 picks seems like low for the Packers. He loves his draft picks, so I don't really see a move happening.
The only thing I could, and he kind of acknowledged it too, would be if he gets antsy, waiting around and not having a pick, and for a general manager and such, that could he get a little antsy, and he kind of said, hopefully I don't get that way, and I think that's why he's got a lot of staff with him that can, say just hold on, be patient. But you throw that out there. Hey, if I'm a team looking to move back or such, maybe I give Goody a call and push that button and see how antsy he may get, and such. Like, hey, you getting a little anxious to make a pick? Here's an offer if you want to make a pick, a little bit sooner and such. So, but I think we're going to stay at 52. Honestly, I almost feel like I would be surprised if he moves back a little bit in the second round too, if he could get like an extra third or fourth.
Yeah,
depending on the draft value charts, whatever one we're still using to this day. If it's the Jimmy Johnson one or whatever one is still out there. So, Surveyor says, good morning. The best Packers draft pick is easily David Bakhtiari. The 4th rounder was a multiple-time All-Pro, anchoring an offensive line that was considered the best blocking line in the NFL. The most underrated Packer pick is A.J. Hawk. Yes, I know he was 5th overall, but he is constantly talked about as a bust, yet consistently led the team in tackles and the all-time tackles leader in Packers history, and led that defense to a Super Bowl when everyone around him was out with an injury. The A.J. Hawk debate is it's kind of an interesting one, because I think a lot of people would say, well, if he wasn't a top 5 pick, then he's looked at as probably a solid player, a really good player, which I get why people say that, because, I mean, you come in with the top 5 label. I think people assume you should be a Hall of Famer. Like, it's almost like if you're a top 5 pick, you should be an All-Pro, Hall of Fame type player. But when you look at it from a career standpoint, I would love for somebody to kind of, I don't know how the best way to kind of describe this, but compare, let's say, all the number 5 picks in the last 50 years. longevity of careers, numbers in that, because I feel like A.J. Hawk, in terms of a longevity and numbers-wise, the numbers will look pretty solid compared to a lot of players who were probably drafted at 5th overall. But I think I get where people say, well, if he wasn't a top 5 pick, then he'd be looked at. He still, I think, had a solid career, but I think people just have this in their mind that if you're a top 5 pick, you automatically should be an all-pro, Hall of Fame caliber player, when in reality, odds are that's probably not the case.
I mean, it's hard to play in the NFL no matter where you're drafted. So I think especially at that position where you got to see the whole field, you got to help on the run, you got to be able to play the pass. It's a different world. And I mean, he came into a good Packers defense. Wasn't like we were awful. So, you know, like you said, it's so hard to evaluate them based on their pick.
Yeah. I'm trying to, can I have a bigger list of this? Okay. So I did a list of, this is going back to 2001, of every player that was drafted 5th overall. LT is pretty good. LaDainian Tomlinson. That LT, sorry, not Lawrence Taylor, but LaDainian Tomlinson. He was pretty good. Quentin Jammer. Terrence Newman, long career, very long career, but not Hall of Fame. Sean Taylor would be Hall of Fame if he didn't pass away. Cadillac Williams, no. A.J. Hawk, Levi Brown, Glenn Dorsey, Mark Sanchez, Eric Berry, Patrick Peterson, long career. Justin Blackmon, nope. Ezekiel Ansa, nope. Khalil Mack, yeah, probably Hall of Famer. Brandon Sheriff, really good career. Jalen Ramsey, good career. Corey Davis, Bradley Chubb, Devin White, Tua. Jamar Chase is pretty good. Kayvon Thibodeau from the Giants, Witherspoon from the Seahawks, Joe Alton, and Mason Graham. I mean, based off all those, A.J. Hawk had a longer career than a lot of those people, too. So, not a Hall of Famer, not a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but it's an interesting debate and discussion that will still go on for years and years and years, I think, when it comes to the Packers. So, keep those coming. All right. Honestly, I think David Bakhtiari, to me, would almost go in the category of one of the more underrated ones because of 4th round pick. I truly believe if he did not tear that ACL that essentially ended his career, we'd be talking about him as a potential Hall of Famer. Because I think what gets underrated or overlooked is he made those all-pro teams. The joke is that he was like on more all-pro teams than Pro Bowl teams, which is just another sign of the ridiculousness of Pro Bowls. But he was probably, for me, when I look at potential Hall of Famers, I think you have to ask the question, were they at any point in their career the best at their position? And Bakhtiari was. I think he was. And I think he should still get considered for that. He won't get in, I don't think, but he was really good and I think incredibly underrated. And I don't know if that's because you look at those lines he played on with the Packers, they were really good, and it kind of gets overshadowed or whatnot. But and the thing is, he had a personality, so it wasn't like he was somebody quiet and you just didn't know who he was. I mean, he had a personality and such. It's just I still feel like people didn't give him enough credit for how good he was.
His ability to block in the run and the pass just kind of gets thrown out. I mean, looking at our line now, we have all pass blockers and not a ton of run blockers. So to be able to do both is just a premium. And then you add the chemistry with Rodgers and just all that. I mean, we made him the highest paid lineman for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I miss him. He was a great player.
And I think, I truly believe that if he doesn't get hurt in that 2020 season, we beat the Buccaneers to go to the Super Bowl. I think we do. He was that important of a player. I mean, this is from 2016 to 2020. All-Pro team, second team All-Pro, second team All-Pro, first team All-Pro, second team All-Pro, fifth team All-Pro. All straight years, 5 straight years. How many Pro Bowls did he make? 3. So he was on 5 All-Pro teams and 3 Pro Bowl teams. from that stretch, though, you could say, was he one of the best? 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. And that's where I almost feel like he's kind of in that. He was a great pick. Great pick. And remember, too, he kind of got thrown in that rookie year as a starter because I believe that year was they were going to have Brian Bulaga play left tackle. And so they were switching it up a little bit, and that's when Bulaga got hurt at family night. Didn't even know he tore his ACL till the next day. So they had to go throw in this rookie David Bakhtiari at left tackle, and rest is history. Brian Bulaga never tried play left tackle again. They put him back at right tackle for the next year. But that was, I believe that was the year that Bulaga was supposed to be the starting left tackle. He got hurt, so they threw in Bakhtiari. And then there was even still talk early in his career that they were going to move Bakhtiari into guard. Thankfully, Mike McCarthy's like, no, we're not. And yeah, pretty good decision for that. So good conversations. Keep these coming, all right? We got to take a quick break, but let's we got another one here from Matt. Says, best draft pick, Sterling Sharp, underrated is tough. So keep them coming. All right, 715-830-1912. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Hey, sometimes accidents happen, but getting your vehicle back to normal does not have to be stressful. And at Superior Auto Body, they specialize in getting your vehicle looking right again after dents, dings, or collisions. And the best part is that they handle the insurance process for you, working directly with your provider to make things simple and hassle-free. No runaround, no confusion, just quality work and a team that's got your back every step of the way. Get your vehicle back on the road with confidence. That's Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, where the job gets done right. So we're having some fun here this morning talking about best Packers draft pick of all time, maybe the most underrated draft pick of all time. And with this, I may ruffle some feathers with this one, but the name that I keep coming to going back to, and I'll just say, well, first of all, do you have one in mind, Carter?
Oh, boy. The best? See, it's obvious, but Aaron Rodgers, it just was unexpected, and he's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Underrated, honestly, it's kind of a cop-out, but Mason Crosby. I would kill for a good kicker right now.
That's a good pick.
And in the 6th round, I would kill for a good kicker right now. So
you look at the longevity that he had, and yeah, man, that's a very solid pick. I can't argue with that one. Way to pull that one out, dude. That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah, I mean, you talk about we never really think about kickers and such until we actually need one, right? So that's a really good one. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers, and honestly, that's kind of where I went, because, and I will say this, one of the resources, if he says this is the pick, I kind of go to is Packers team historian Cliff Christel. I know it was a few years ago, but he did do an article on Packers.com, and he listed the top, I think it was top 5. I'm trying to bring it back up because I just had it during the break and then idiot me and I closed it. But the top pick he had in Packers history was Aaron Rodgers. Number 2 was Bart Starr on that list. And I think a lot of people look at it now and say, well, yeah, Aaron was a first-round pick. He was supposed to be number 1, or thought was supposed to be number 1 and such. And this is where people, I think, kind of knock Ted Thompson too, because people say, well, Ted Thompson had Aaron Rodgers and, Mike McCarthy had Aaron. We got to remember though, too, it took some cojones to draft Aaron Rodgers. Ted Thompson didn't have to draft Aaron Rodgers. How many teams passed on Aaron Rodgers? And Green Bay still had a guy named Brett Favre on the team. And as Cliff said in his article, I remember seeing the one word he used was unprecedented, to make that pick. So it still took the cojones and knowing that people were going to be upset with the pick to make that pick, and probably really upset his starting quarterback. Knowing that, okay, a first-round pick isn't going to help the team I'm on, and I'm nearing the end of my tenure here. So the fact that still making that pick and the way that pick developed and turned into, it's hard to argue that. It's also hard. I think, Bart Starr, you look at the championships, and I think, where a lot of people will make the case for him, and I'm not arguing against it either, is you look at it was 17th round. Mm-hmm. You also have to remember, too, the draft at that time, there wasn't as many teams, right? There wasn't as many players, and that's so I think, let me bring it up here. Bart in the 56th draft was the 17th round. He was picked 200 overall. So that's like, what, 6th round in today's? And still, that's down there. I mean, Tom Brady was like 199 or something like that. So I think a lot of it just kind of almost depends on what's your definition of best draft pick. Is it almost best player, like who was the better player, where they were drafted and exceeded expectations? Because there was not any expectations for Bart Starr coming in. Rodgers being a first-round pick, there is an expectation to be a good player, and that's so. Do you look at it from a pure talent standpoint? Is it championships? Everybody's going to have their own different definition when it comes to that.
Well, and even though he's a first-round pick, I mean, people had done their homework on him, and he wasn't getting picked, Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, just the ability to pick him when you still had Brett Favre was a tough decision, I bet, and one that actually paid off.
Mm-hmm. So this is the article from Cliff Christo. As he says, here's the criteria. The best players are the best picks. All-time greats are rare finds. All pros are countless. Reliable starters are even more numerous. For example, Mark Tauscher and Chad Clifton aren't on the list, but if they were, Clifton would be rated ahead of Tauscher. As a 7th-round choice, Tauscher was one of the Packers' best all-time bargains, but Clifton was a better pick as a number 2 simply because he was regarded as a better tackle. That said, value over investment was a consideration. Also taken into account was who else was available. For example, the Packers didn't miss when they selected Paul Hornung with the first overall pick in 1957, but they passed on Jim Brown to draft him. The first draft was held in 1936. So he has Aaron Rodgers as number 1. There have been, so this was about 10 years ago now, but he says there have been 78 NFL drafts and more than 23,850 players selected. This pick, in all likelihood, will go down in league history as being unprecedented. Brett Favre is all but a cinch to be voted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which we know he is. Rodgers is closing in on being a lock. Never has a team with a future Hall of Fame quarterback on the plus side of 30. Favre was 35 when Rodgers was drafted, filled those shoes with another future Hall of Famer through a draft pick, with one irrelevant exception. In 1973, San Diego drafted Dan Fouts 8 days after it had purchased 17-year veteran Johnny Unitas from the Baltimore Colts for one final season. Number 2 was Bart Starr, the Packers' all-time biggest steal. He didn't have to win games playing with a supporting cast that included 10 other Hall of Famers, and he rarely lost them. He was a true field general back when quarterbacks called their own plays. He led the Packers to 5 NFL championships, more than any quarterback in history. Well, now Brady's got all those still. Mm-hmm. But so I kind of, if Cliff says it, Cliff's one of my idols, though. So guys watch a lot of football and knows a lot about Packers history. I do take that into consideration. So, but again, I think it honestly depends on your criteria, your definition of what you want. So, but Mark says, I could not agree more on your comments on the Rodgers pick. Was just going to message that one in when intern brought him up with Mason. Good call, intern. So you got props. You might have it with Mason Crosby, dude. You for most underappreciated, you might have that one.
I mean, I'd take him back right now.
Yeah, man, that's a good that to me is going to be hard to top. because I took it for granted, no doubt about it. So keep those coming. All right, hit us up. We'll be right back. We got to take a quick break. And really quick, Matt says, especially DK, how you regaled us with Bakhtiari's injury. You can echo some of that sentiment with Sterling. Well, the thing that helps Sterling, though, too, is that he is in the Hall of Fame now. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll be surprised. I just don't think Bakhtiari is going to get there. I think he's going to need a lot of PR support and marketing to get there. But, hey, maybe. Who knows? So, all right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up the first quarter coming up after these quick words. Fired up savings going on right now at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. We're talking about $3.99 Hy-Vee Choice Reserved Bacon Wrapped Beef Sirloin Fillets. 10 for $10 Chobani yogurts. Those are huge in our house, especially when you mix a little fruit in there with some raspberries or blackberries, which are also on sale for $2.99. Maybe you want to get some snacks for watching the draft tonight. Hey, Frito-Lay's, Tostitos chips, $2.99. Yeah, there you go. Or maybe with traveling with baseball and such, we get some good snacks over there too. We've got 268 Marie calendars, like those pot pie bowls and such. Those are quick, easy meals, especially if you got to be on the go now that we are in the spring sports season and such. Or 4 for $10 Roma Original pizzas. Load up those deep freezers. Check out Hy-Vee in Eau Claire for the latest and the greatest deals. Make sure you're checking out their Facebook page, too, for all their deals. They got the Colossal Cookie Sale going on here, too, if you want some sweet snacks. And don't forget, you can save some money at the gas pump. I just filled up this morning on the way to work. Saved 20 cents per gallon because of the Fuel Savers, the fuel perks from Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. So, C-Bomb chiming in. C-Bomb, a.k.a. Chadwick, says, all I know is I want to see a good third-round pick like Tucker Kraft. Let's not have a Brett Conway third-round pick. I know we got third-rounder and such coming up tomorrow along with the second round. I was looking at some of the third-rounders. That might be the Achilles heel for Green Bay here as of late. Here's the latest third-round picks. Last year was Savion Williams, unknown. Marshawn Lloyd, Tyrone Hopper. Tucker Kraft is good. Sean Ryan is their starting center. Then it's Amari Rodgers, Josiah DeGuara, Jay Sternberger, Orrin Burks, Montravius Adams, Kyler Fackrell, Ty Montgomery, Kyrie Thornton, and Richard Rodgers. No third rounder in 13. No third rounder in 2012. Alex Green in 2011. Morgan Burnett in 2010. That was a good one. No third rounder in 09. Jermichael Finley in 08. James Jones, that was a good one. Aaron Rouse, that was a guy I was so excited about because he was a big safety. Didn't pan out for a long career. Abdul Hodge and Jason Spitz. And then we'll go no third rounder in 05. So that's kind of the last 20, 21 years. Second rounders, a little bit better. Last year was Anthony Belton. He's a starting lineman right now. Then you had Edrin Cooper and Javon Bullard. They're pretty good. Luke Musgrave and Jaden Reed. Christian Watson. Josh Myers. A.J. Dillon. Elton Jenkins, who's good. Josh Jackson was not good. The infamous Kevin King pick. Kevin King and Josh Jones. Jason Spriggs. Quentin Rollins. Devontae Adams. That turned out pretty good. Eddie Lacy, Rookie of the Year. Jarrell Worthy. And Randall Cobb. We'll just go back to 2011. A little bit better with the second-round picks.
Yeah.
So, but... all right, good stuff there. Keep those coming. We've got plenty more draft talk coming up here. So if you want to join in, hit us up with some messages or thoughts on that. First round is underway tonight. I think, can we just announce the first pick right now since everybody in the world knows it? And that's going to be Mendoza unless the Raiders do something wacky.
Crazy.
Yeah. But after that, I think it's after the Jets, I think we all assume the Jets are going to pick an edge rusher, whether it's the kid from Texas Tech or Ohio State, whether it's is it Bailey from Texas Tech and Reese from Ohio State. Then after that, it kind of gets interesting. What is Arizona going to do? Because there was the Schefter thing from earlier in the week that, hey, it could be Love. I think to me we're open for business. If you want Love, come and get him.
Yeah, I don't see them taking Love, especially because likely they take Ty Simpson later.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a quarterback and a running back and nothing else then on your team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, like you said, I think they could easily trade out of it. So
yeah, I think that was kind of their sign saying, hey, all you teams that want Jeremiah Love, come, we're open for business. And then you throw out there saying, or we'll draft him. You're just kind of like, we'll draft him if you guys don't want him, sort of thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is that trade to move up to get him. So, but then, we got 6 teams here with 2 first-round picks. So if any of those teams are really interested in moving up, maybe it's one of those. But, I don't know. I don't see them falling out of the top 5. Whether it's Tennessee at 4, I think that'd be a good pick for Tennessee. Giants are getting talked about it, which the Giants one's weird, I think. But
I think there are better needs for the Giants because you have Scatterbo, who actually played well when he was healthy last year.
Yeah, exactly, and the connection he's got with Dart and such. So, but I think the draft starts at pick 3. I think that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
A little uncertainty at 2, but we know it's between 2 guys.
Yeah, I think Bailey's going to go there.
That's where it kind of feels like. That's what I have mocked there is Bailey. So, and I think, it's a game of chicken that the Cardinals are playing. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut us off. Send us who you think is the best Packers draft pick of all time and maybe the most underrated draft pick of all time for the green and gold. Or if you're not a Packers fan, we want to hear from the rest of you. If you are a Bears fan, who was the best draft pick in your history, your team's history, maybe the most underappreciated, Vikings, Lions, whatever the case may be. We got Tom from across the pond right now that's tuning in. If you want to listen to one of our podcast episodes where we did our mock draft, Tom, our resident Lions fan, recorded his Lions mock draft. That is up in one of our podcasts. So send it on over to us. Shout out Tom from across the pond over there. We appreciate that. Hetch did the Bears. Brandon did the Vikings. So if you want to tune into that,